Do you want to improve at a quicker pace? Check out GitGUDRacing.com. I've coached hundreds of drivers, from real-life racers to sim enthusiasts, who experience rapid improvement after just one session. And while investing in top-notch hardware is great, imagine how much more you can elevate your experience by adding coaching to the mix. My methods are practical, aiming to break down complex concepts into easily digestible bits that are simple to understand. You can find reviews of the sessions I've conducted on the Fiverr link provided in the video description. Let's elevate your racing skills together. Now for the track guide. For turn 1, what you want to do is you really want to carry a lot of speed on entry. You're gonna brake at the beginning of this exit road on the right side, but what's important here is that for the first corner you really want to barely touch the brakes. You're gonna use the brakes more to make the car turn. You don't want to brake very hard on a straight line. Instead, you just want to brake something like 30% and then quickly trail it off, but never drop the brakes, because you really want to stay on the brakes up until the car gets very closely to these yellow sausage curbs. And let the car roll in for the corner, because you will have more grip to the straight line braking in the next part of the track, just because the road goes a bit upward, just because there's this elevation change. It's gonna make your braking a bit easier. So you want to carry a lot of speed into turn 1, because in turn 2, just before you get to the corner, you're gonna now smash the brakes and brake really hard while going at this curb. And again, you want to be very close to these yellow sausage curbs without touching them. So right now you're gonna peak around 60-70%, but notice that at no point in time I'm dropping the brakes. So you start with the light braking going into turn 1, you pass turn 1, and then before turn 2, then you're gonna bump your pressure on the brakes. If you're gonna brake too much in turn 1, you will find the car understeery actually, just because the car turns and brakes at the same time too much. You can miss this yellow sausage curbs, and you really want to be very tight around here. You don't want to not touch this curb, because then the next corner is gonna be a pain. So brake light for the first one, brake a lot harder for the second one. And on exit, while still trail braking, use this pit exit line, the white line, as a reference. You want to have half the car to the left side of it, so it will split the car in two. You don't want to go all the way to the blue cone right here, but you don't want to stay on the right side of the white line. In this instance, I'm not as far as I would like to, and you will see that I'm losing a bit of time on exit. Just because if you're gonna be a bit more on the outside, meaning just a bit more on the left part of the white line, you will carry more speed. You have to carry more speed to arrive to that part. So your benchmark into this corner in terms of corner speed, it's gonna be if you are able to go just slightly past this white line, and then you're gonna modulate the power so that you will have a late apex into this corner. You see this red curb around here, you want to touch it as late as you can. So you don't want to touch it around here in the beginning, you want to touch it more on the exit around here, because a late apex is gonna give you the best exit possible, so that you won't track out wide, but you will still use all the track while doing little corrections under power. For the next corner, my reference for braking is this blue crane around here. I'm braking slightly before it. And what's important into this corner is that you really want to use the camber of the corner, because you will have a lot more grip. So there's a lot of grip on the inside, just because here is a compression. And as much as you go to the outside, the elevation changes and there's a lot less grip. So all the grip in this corner is here on the inside. You want to follow the white line without touching too much the red and white curb. Just staying tighter around the white line and go late on power in this corner, because if you're gonna go early on power, you will go off the camber. And whenever you go off the camber, you lose time because there's less grip. So what you can do to visualize it better is look at my brake shape. I'm braking quite hard initially, medium to hard, but then look at my trailer brake. Still trailing, still on the brake, still holding 2%, still holding 1%, and then I'm going back on power. So it's a long trail brake just because I want to stay on the camber as much as I can, because there's a lot of grip, there's a lot of speed, and then when I'm going off camber, I'm doing it in the latest part possible. So avoid going on power early in this corner, stay on the camber, and you will see the delta going green. For the next chicane, this is one of the trickiest part of the track. You don't want to use all the track, you don't want to put your right tires to the right part of the white line. It's gonna be instantly a slowdown. It wasn't like this in the past, but they changed it, so don't use here all the track, don't go all the way to this orange little things. Instead, stay at the white line, that's gonna be the best thing to do. And while going into the corner, don't brake on entry, you want to turn in first, stay flat. Whenever you get very close to this green part of the curve, then you brake. So you're gonna brake it here, and this is like a double apex corner. It's actually, you have 3 apexes, and you want to stay very tight. Not that tight, but you really want to hit the apex, because that's gonna be important. So I'm braking with 15-20% maximum around here, right? It's actually 10. And then the car track out to the middle part of the track, and then I have the next apex, which still on the brakes I want to take it very close to this orange sausage curve, and then again going in the middle of the track. But what's important here, for the third one, you want to do it flat. So you're gonna brake just for the first 2, then you're gonna be back on power 100%, still hold 100%, and take this one flat. And then you're gonna brake, because again you have a compression here, you have some camber, and there's a lot more grip. If you're gonna brake before this part, the car is gonna be unstable on the braking. So the car is gonna be more stable, and you will have more speed if you're gonna take this flat like that and then brake. That's gonna be key. And also for this sequence of corners, notice that you really have to hit the apexes. So this is the first one going in the middle, second one going in the middle and power, third one taking flat, and then braking for the next corner. What I'm doing here is a little mistake. I'm staying too tight and too close to the white line, even though you have to use the camber in this corner just because the elevation is not that big. You can get away with tracking out just a bit wider, and you will see me here going on power at this point and then dropping it and then doing again on power. I do this mistake just because I'm very close to the white line on the inside, and if I will still maintain that power, I will just go into the grass. So what you want to do instead is you want to take more like a U-shaped, like a V-shaped line instead of a U-shaped line. And the V-shaped line, it's just that you will go a bit more wider and you will track out just a bit more in the center left, and then you will be able to put the power down whenever you feel that needed. So it's very important to take it a bit wider than you think. Don't stay this tight to the white line. And my reference for putting the power down is this green part of the curve right here, and you will see this texture of the green again here. This is a very good reference to get an apex point. For the next chicane, it's very again, it's not easy because you have to carry a lot of speed. So for the next corner, I'm going flat, and slightly before touching the curb, I'm doing a small lift. It's still like a 30% lift, and then before hitting the second one, I'm doing a lift again, and then I'm braking. So it's very similar with the previous chicane, but the main difference is that you can stay on throttle a lot more. You can stay here flat, and in this one, you really want to cut all the way to this orange part in the curb, and then put the power down in second gear. Don't use this curb though. If you noticed in my lap, my traction control kicks in for a brief second. It's just flashing the white line, the white lights, and you will have less rear traction in this corner just because the traction control kicks in. And this corner leads to a decent straight, so you need that rear traction. So try to avoid having the TC kick in this corner. Now going into the next chicane again, the next chicane is a bit easier just because we have a bit more straight line braking and the car is going to be a bit easier to control. I'm braking slightly before the blue banner. I'm braking in a straight line initially, and whenever I turn, I drop off the brakes immediately. I don't want to trail brake in higher percentages so that the fronts will be into ABS mode. So trail braking into the corner very close to this sausage curb, and as soon as I'm off the curb, I'm putting the power down, trying to bring the car all the way to the right side. It's gonna be impossible, but whenever I'm arriving at this exit road on the right, I'm preparing to turn left, and I'm turning left in third gear and immediately shifting to second, so that I will have that extra rotation on the exit, using all the track here. And for the last couple of corners, my reference for braking here is whenever I don't see this blue crane anymore in my windshield, like right now, whenever it disappears, I'm applying the brakes, and I just want to brake just to make the car point, just to make the car rotate. You don't want to overslow the car into this corner. It's the same for the previous one actually. Notice in my brake shape, when I went into the chicane, I brake a lot harder, but whenever I took the second corner of the chicane here, I'm barely touching the brakes. I'm using like 10% braking and then going back on power. This is just to make the front tires point, to have some weight on the front part of the car, but you don't want to overslow it. That's very important. You just want to have more grip on the fronts. That's the same principle here. Don't brake very hard, don't kill the momentum, just make the car point, get very close to this curb, and whenever you're off the curb, put the power down, use all the track. And for the last corner, this corner is very tricky. You have to take advantage of everything that you can get. So the first things first, open up as much as possible by using the pit entry. I'm gonna use the pit entry, and before this pit line, the white line from the pit entry, you're gonna apply the brakes, but you're gonna brake in a straight line. So you will try to go to this part of the green grass around here, and whenever this little green triangle ends, like we have this triangle here, and whenever it ends right here, you're gonna start to turn in. But what's crucial in this corner is to turn as late as you can and don't turn too much. If you're gonna turn too much, then you will take an early apex, and as a result you will go wider on the exit. And because on the exit you have a gravel trap, you will either have to do a lift if you're gonna turn very early, or if you're gonna turn too much initially. You'll have to do a lift so you won't go into the gravel trap, and you have a decent straight afterwards, so you will lose a lot of time. And if you get into the gravel, of course you will lose seconds. So very important here. Take it easier than you think. Don't rush the entry. Go slow in, fast out, turn as late as you can, trail brake, and meet this curb in the middle. Don't meet it on entry whenever you see it. Take it in the middle, because then you will be able to use all the curb without doing a correction on power. You see, I do a small correction, but that's very gentle. If you're gonna do a big mistake, you have to drop the throttle completely, and that's gonna be very bad. But in short, that's a track guide for Ferrari Fixed in this week. I hope you have some nice races, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.